This tool is called the Long-Term, Medium-Term and Emerging Hotspots tool. This is can be used for if you've got a few locations in your area that are they're always going to be hotspots because they've always got activity. So these are often shopping centres, railway stations, high streets. So every time, if you run a hotspot every 2 weeks, say, they're always going to show up as hotspots because of how much activity happens there, and we know about them. And they sort of drown out any other smaller hotspots which are maybe worth having a look at. So what this tool helps you do is identify those constant long-term hotspots, move them aside, and then find the next ones, the more recent ones, what we'll call emerging hotspots, which you can go in and have a look at. Now those emerging hotspots, they might just be some random crime, but they might be the start of a new problem, and so this will help you sift through those different types. So to run this tool, first you need a boundary layer, and you need to select it again just by selecting the polygon. Then come up. Now this needs 12 months of data, so because it's going to run hotspots for each fortnight of that 12 months. That's how it can work out what's long-term or not. So you do need 12 months of data to come into this tool. So if you click on this tool, I've got 12 months of vehicle crime here, and I just need to select some parameters. So select your date column. So I've only got one here. The search radius, so because it's running KDE hotspots, and it's a search radius. If you're not sure, you can go with the default. You might want to round it off if you want, or you might have something specific in mind. These ones are more important though. So time interval, the default is 14 days. So basically it will run through each fortnight of the year for 26, so that you end up with 26 time spans, and run a hotspot for each one and look at what's common. Now, if your area doesn't have a lot of data, so you're looking at a quieter area, you can instead choose to make your time interval 28 days or a month, but it's a 4-week month, not a calendar month, so you end up with 13 spans. So depending on how much data you've got, basically, I'll run this one for each fortnight, and out of all 26 spans, how many times does it need to be a hotspot for it to be considered a long-term hotspot? So the default here is giving me 10. So it's saying if a location is found to be a hotspot in at least 10 of the 26 fortnights, we'll consider that a hotspot. These options are here so you can adjust them if you want. If you're not getting too many results for long-term hotspots, you might want to bump this down to say 8 or 7 or something. So you're saying that if it's a hotspot in 8 of the 26, we'll call it long-term because it's appearing in lot. Again, it probably depends on the volume of your data. And same is for medium-term. It looks at the last 6 spans or 3 months and says how many of those does it need to be a hotspot to be a medium-term, so that when it's not a long-term. So the default is 3. Again, you can play with that if you want. So I'll just change it back to the default. So those, as you use this, you might come up with different values that work better for your area. Hit OK. Now what this is doing is now creating a single grid, but it's going to be running through and running one hotspot for each fortnight of the year. So you can see here that progress bar running through, and down in the message window it's telling you the dates for each fortnight that it's running through. And you end up with this. So I'll just close the message window. So you can see here the red bits are the long-term hotspots. That's really found 2 of those. Up here it's saying this one's pretty much always a hotspot, and down here. Orange means medium term, so you do have some areas at the edge of those long-term hotspots which are probably associated with it, but also one more over here which is about saying it didn't meet the criteria for being a long-term hotspot, but it was within the last 3 months. It's been happening quite a few times. And then you're left with these pink areas, which are the emerging areas. So what that means is in the last 2 weeks, when it ran that last hotspot, these areas are showing up as hotspots, and they're not long-term or medium-term. So these areas are probably good to go in and have a look at. When you analyse them, they might be explainable. It might be someone who did a lot of crimes and has been arrested since isn't going to commit anymore. Or they might be the beginning of a new crime spree. Maybe someone's moved in the area, some kids are starting to get a bit out of control. This tool's designed to help you identify those areas so that you can go in and explain them and identify those areas as early as possible.